We are starting Unit 8, and Unit 8 is graphing inequalities. There's going to be some things that I am looking for throughout the unit, and I will try to point them out as I get to them, and these are things that I will look at, and it will determine whether your problems are correct or incorrect. So we're first going to go back and solve some inequalities, and we're going to move some stuff around. Remember, if you ever divide or multiply by a negative, you have to flip the inequality sign. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to keep everything positive so I don't have to flip. Now, sometimes you'll have to read it backwards, but you won't have to flip. So I'm going to move this 2x to the other side just so he stays positive. So I'm going to have 10 is greater than 8 plus 2x. I'm going to subtract the 8. I have 2 is greater than 2x. I'm going to divide by 2. I'm going to have 1 is greater than x. When you write these, the variable is on the left. X is less than 1. And so the point is at the x, the point is still at the x. That is considered a correct answer. This is not the correct format. That's not the correct format. You need to have your variable, then your inequality. Okay. Here, in order for me not to have a negative, to have to divide by a negative or a positive, I'm going to always look for the smaller x and move the smaller x to the bigger x. Here's the 4x minus 4x minus 4x. That gives me x plus 3 is less than negative 9. I'm going to subtract 3, x is less than negative 12. My variable's on the correct side, and I do not have to flip. By moving the smaller x, I do not run into a negative variable or a negative coefficient. Therefore, I don't tend to flip the inequality sign because I'm prevent myself from running into a negative coefficient. So now we're going to have to graph these, and we're going to graph two variables. So it's going to expand on graphing a line and then particular things. Okay, two methods of quickly graphing a line to quickly graph inequalities. Method 1, solve for y when necessary. Don't forget, if you multiply or divide by a negative, flip. And that's talking about the inequality sign. Graph the line using solid line for less than or equal to or greater than or equal to. So notice this line under the inequality, it becomes a solid line. A dotted line if it is just less than or greater than. Because the solid line means include it, a dotted line gets as close as you can but don't include it. Step 3, pick a test point and decide if true. And I'll show you how to do that. If true, shade. If not true, not true. Then go over the line and shade that side of the line. And that'll be demonstrated in your problems. Okay, step 2. I prefer this method. I use what I know to graph a line. To graph a line, you need either a point and a slope, easy to get in slope-intercept form. So if it's in slope-intercept form, I just plot it. 2 points, easy to get from standard form using, I always hunt x and y intercept, knowing that x-intercept is in the form of number comma 0 and a y-intercept is in the form of 0 comma number. I call it big thumbs. I'll show you why I call it big thumbs. Then I need to know what kind of line to graph. A solid line if I have inequalities that have the equal sign. Signifies include the line. Dashed or dotted line if the inequality does not have an underline. Signifies everything up to the line but don't include the line. Step 3, pick test point and decide if true. If true, shade. If not true, then go over the line and shade that side of the line. Here's how you can remember it. Texas in the summer, shade is always where I want want to be, so shade is the desirable and true answer. Anything not shaded will not make the inequality true. Okay, here's a big thing, so again, we're going to have to figure out how to portray this. So in the virtual world, one key concept that cannot be missed is if the line is graphed, is dashed, or solid. Therefore, on highlight images problems where you are to plot the points and draw lines, I will ask you to plot points in yellow and then draw red lines and verbally state dashed or solid. This is one that's going to be important, because if in doubt, it's wrong. So you're going to have to write. And I'm going to see if we can do it on a PDF, because on PDF files, if I send you a PDF file to work on, then you can draw on the PDF file and you can erase easier than having to clear the document on the highlight image. This is done so there's no confusion in me checking if you have mastered the concept. So I have to know whether you know that the inequality graphed is going to be a dashed or a solid. Following these guidelines will also ensure you receive the credit for your information. Okay, so now we're going to get to a problem. Here we go. First problem, graph. It's in y-intercept form. I have a underline, so I'm going to write solid, because that reminds me it's solid, and this is something you're going to have to do. And I go to -3, 1, 2, 3, and I plot. I go down 2, 1, 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1. I also go the other way. And I draw a solid line. So what I'm thinking is if your dots are in yellow and then your line is in red. So here's a couple of things, is we can PDF or we can upload images, but the problem is if you upload images, they have to be clear. Okay, here we go. Now to decide which side of the line to color. So I'm going to put a 0 in for this point is definitely on this side of the line. So I'm going to say 0 is less than or equal to -2 times 0 minus 3. Sorry. Okay, so then I get 0, this goes away, is less than -3. Is 0 less than -3? No. So if it's not true and you shook your head no, you're going to come across the line and you're going to shade all of this. And that is the final answer. So when you come up with a false answer, or a false for the test point, you go across the line and color. If it was a yes, then you would color on that side. Okay, let's try again. Here we go. No underline, so I'm going to tell you that it's dotted. I'm going to graph at the intercept. I'm going to do my points. Okay, it's dotted. I'm going to make sure that there are gaps. Okay, it is a gapped line. That's where we're going to have a hard time on the computer. So we're going to make sure that we write the words dotted and we write the word solid. So if it's a solid line, you have portrayed that. If it's a dashed or dotted line, you have portrayed that. Okay, so now we do 0. Test point 0. 0 is greater than half of 0 minus 3. This goes, oops, sorry, didn't mean to do that again. That goes away. So I have 0 is greater than -3. I say yes, 0 is greater than -3. So he needs to be in the shade. So everybody here is in the shade. Okay, I'm going to stop the video before I go to do the next couple of problems.